Today we are going to be looking into the disappearance of Andrew Gosden. Andrew Paul Gosden was born on the 10th of July 1993 and he disappeared from central London on the 14th of September 2007 when he was only aged 14. On that day, Gosden left his home in Doncaster, South Yorkshire, withdrew £200 from his bank account and bought a one-way ticket to London from Doncaster station. He was last seen on CCTV leaving King's Cross station. Despite numerous national appeals for information about his missing status, in the years following his disappearance, Gosden's reason for travelling to London that day and his subsequent fate have not been established yet. However, in December 2021, detectives investigating the case arrested two men on suspicion of kidnap and human trafficking in relation to Gosden's disappearance. Both men were subsequently released under investigation while inquiries continued. In September 2023, the police confirmed that the two men had been eliminated from the investigation, and they are believed to be the first made arrests in connection to Gosden's disappearance. Today, we're going to look in depth at it, his background, his home life. We're going to look all into it. So join me as we get into a true crime story. Prior to his disappearance, his home life was fairly good. He lived in Balbury, which is a suburb in Doncaster, South Yorkshire. Andrew's parents both grew up to be Catholics Anglican Christians, but they had not baptised any of their children yet, as they didn't want to impose their views onto them. Prior to his disappearance, Gosden had not been to church for 18 months, and he actually was a Cub Scout, but a few months before his disappearance, he told his father that he would no longer involve himself with that group. Gosden's family described him as a so-called home bird, and he rarely left the house, and never without saying where he was going. You know, he would always stay at the house. He wouldn't not tell anyone if he was going out for, say, some reason. And Gosden was known to his family as Rue. Now, on the other hand, his school life, he was a very smart student. He had 100% attendance record at the McOlly Catholic High School. He was on the Young, Gifted and Talented program, which was designed to enhance the educational development of the top 5% in that school of pupils, and he had been expected to score straight A's in all of his exams. And Gosden was described as a prize-winning mathematician who seemed destined for Cambridge. He was a very, very smart student. He was described as having a neutral attitude about school, hoping the upcoming school term would provide more of a challenge after having cruised through his education thus far. Gosden tended to say little about his school life to his parents. During the 2006 school holidays, Gosden attended 2-week residential school at Lancaster University as part of this Young, Gifted and Talented program that the school had set up. The summer school was for children from all over the ages of 11 to 16 who were in the top 5 academically. Gosden's parents recalled that he had returned from the summer school, enthused about what he had been doing there. Gosden was described as being happy with his own company, but was not a loner at all, as he had his own small little like-minded friend group. However, Gosden's family would say that he did not socialise with his friends outside of school, and he exhibited no signs of depression. There was no indications that he had been subjected to bullying. He was just a quiet boy, and he didn't like to socialise, I guess. He was a bit of an introvert, if you wanted to say. Now, Gosden was said by his father to be absent-minded, not streetwise, and potentially vulnerable. He was a deep character who did not get worked up or moody. His teachers characterised him as shy, quiet young man who was mature behind his years. Other sources have stated, although Gosden was aged 14 when he disappeared, he looked younger and perhaps about 12 years old, as he was pretty small for his age. Gosden wore strong prescription glasses, and he was deaf in his left ear, and he had distinctive double ridges on his right ear. Gosden had light brown hair, but was planning to dye it black just before he disappeared. Gosden also owned a number of mobile phones between the ages of 10 and 12, but he rarely used them and subsequently lost them. He was given a new phone for his 12th birthday, but also rarely used this one and did not want to replace it when he lost it months before his disappearance. Crazy. How can a teenage boy like him not want his phone? When his parents offered him to replace the lost mobile phones, he stated he would prefer a new Xbox instead. He clearly didn't care about socialising. Gosden was interested in video games and metal bands. He had last seen wearing a black Slipknot t-shirt, black jeans and trainers with a watch on his left wrist, and he was carrying a black canvas satchel with patches of rock and metal bands on it. So he was an introvert, and it's very interesting when you actually hear the events that are leading up to his disappearance, because during the 2007 school summer holidays, Gosden's parents had suggested that he travel alone to London and stay with his grandmother. However, he chose not to, travelling alone on train when he's 14 years old. At the time of his disappearance, Gosden was 8 days into his new school year after returning from the summer holidays that we were just going on about. And in the days leading up to his disappearance, Gosden twice chose to break his normal routine. His parents reported that he told them he walked home from school rather than taking the school bus. Walking a 4-mile route from school to his home would have taken nearly an hour and 20 minutes. Why would you walk that? The evening before the day of the disappearance, he was described by Gosden's father as uneventful. The family ate together as usual, and they washed all the dishes afterwards. Gosden had spent an hour making a jigsaw with his father. He then watched some comedy programmes on television, including Mock the Week and That Mitchell and Webb Look with his mother. And it seemed very casual and normal week for him. Nothing out of the ordinary, nothing screaming out saying, "Oh, I'm going to go missing tomorrow," which is very strange. Now, on the day of his disappearance, Gosden had difficulty waking up and seemed particularly irritable, which is very unlike him and was very unusual, especially considering he was normally awake on time. At 8:05 a.m, Gosden left his house and was witnessed walking across the local park, Westfield, to his usual bus stop by family friend Rev. Alan Murray, who was also sitting on the bench park. Instead of taking the bus, Gosden diverted from his usual route and walked to a cash machine at a local garage. It was here where he withdrew £200 from his bank account, which was almost all of his money. He had £214 in the bank at the time, but the ATM would only allow withdrawals of £20 increments. So Gosden was then captured next on CCTV system returning to his house. At home, Gosden placed his uniform in the washing machine and his blazer on the back of his chair. He then changed into his casual clothes, consisting of a black slip-knot t-shirt and black jeans. He took a bag embellished with various patches of rock and metal bands. He also took his wallet, keys, and a PlayStation portable console. No other possessions were identified as missing. It was quickly established that he had not taken his passport with him, so he couldn't have went abroad. And Gosden's father stated that his son did not appear to have taken a sweatshirt or coat with him, and had also not taken a charger for his PSP. Gosden also left around £100 in cash that he had saved up from birthdays. At around 8:30 a.m, Gosden departed from the house and was seen heading down Littlemore Lane towards Westfield Park on a neighbour's CCTV camera. He then walked to Doncaster railway station and purchased a one-way ticket to London, which cost £31.40. The ticket seller later recalled that she had told Gosden that a return ticket cost would just be 50p more, but he insisted on purchasing a single ticket. Why was this? Then, at around 9:35 a.m, Gosden was seen boarding the train to King's Cross station alone. A woman reported sitting next to Gosden, whom she described as being quiet and engrossed in playing his video game. When Gosden failed to attend morning lessons at his school, his teachers tried to contact his parents, and the school believed that they had called Gosden's parents and they left a message informing them that he had not attended school. However, the school dialed the number of the parents, and neither parents either above or below Gosden in the register, and the message was left on the wrong person's phone. So there's an issue at the school there, how they didn't infer the parents straight away, which leads to their parents not even knowing that their son is missing until probably later on in the day. Gosden then arrived at King's Cross station at 11:20 a.m. He was captured on CCTV leaving the main entrance of the station at 11:25 a.m. And then this was the last official sighting of Andrew Gosden. Now, when the parents actually did get involved, that evening in the Gosden family and a family friend sat down for dinner, thinking that Gosden was either in the converted cellar playing video games or in his room doing homework. They thought he was in the house when actually he was in London. He was in a different place, different county. He was in the capital city, and they're in Doncaster. They are in Yorkshire, or he's all the way in London. What? That's just crazy. They had no clue that he wasn't in the house. And when the family discovered that he was not in the house, they initially thought that he could be with a friend or a neighbour, or had simply just lost track of time, and because he didn't have a phone, they couldn't call him either to see where he was. At around 7 p.m, the police were eventually called. Gosden's sister stated, "It was just a complete panic. We initially thought something must have happened on the way to school when we found out he hadn't been to school, even tried to go to school. That was even more worrying." Charlotte and Gosden's father, Kevin, scouted Gosden's route to school and areas nearby, but they couldn't find out anything. And of course they wouldn't find anything when Andrew was all the way in London at the time. Within 3 hours of discovering Gosden's disappearance, a missing person application leaflet was produced for circulation. Gosden's family and friends searched the area until nightfall. That weekend, the police searched the bushes near the Gosden's home in Doncaster, but still found nothing. They hadn't even looked at the CCTV yet to realise that he wasn't even in Doncaster, that he was in London. And which is crazy. I'm looking at a couple of pictures now of the King Cross's old concourse and exits, and they have changed so dramatically over time. That is very interesting. But 3 days later, after speaking to the woman who had sold Gosden the train ticket, the police confirmed that he travelled to London. This was 3 days. 3 days later. And the ticket seller at Doncaster station remembered Gosden because he had refused to take a return ticket even when it cost a small amount of money, literally 50p added on. And his father, Andrew's father, later stated that the purchase of a single ticket rather than a return did not seem strange to him, as Gosden knew numerous people in London with whom he could have stayed at. Initial searches in London focused on the Chislehurst and Sidcup area, where the Gosden family had relatives. So again, they weren't really, of course they were panicking, you would panic at this, but they started to figure out sort of where different places he could go, but he wasn't there. And days after the disappearance, the family actually travelled to London and started to hand out flyers and posters of Andrew, of anywhere they felt he could have been or had an interest in visiting, especially places like museums and exhibitions. Of course, he was a very smart kid at school, and he was interested in maths and science, and these are the places where he would have gone. Leading on in the investigations, the family and the police investigated the possibility that Gosden had gone to London to meet with someone that he had met over the internet. However, there was no evidence for this. as Gosden didn't use a computer at home, and his father stated that Gosden didn't even have an email address and had not even set up an online account on either his Xbox or PSP. The police took the computers from Gosden School and Doncaster Library, but their digital forensics investigation found no trace of any activity by Gosden. Very strange. Why was he in London? Why could he have been in London? It's completely weird and eerie to think that how could he have got there? One, by himself, and two, why did he go there? Investigators sent the unique serial number of Gosden's PSP to Sony HQ, who checked and found that there was no record of an account being set up or communication established on that device. The Sony PSP 1000 had a DNAS authentication system, allowing Sony to see when a PSP had been connected to the internet, and the only PC in the house was his sister's laptop, which had only been in her possession for 8 weeks. Gosden's sister had stated they didn't seem interested in social media or connecting to other people through the internet, and she said he just didn't seem social, as we heard from his home life. He didn't speak to anyone. He was an introvert, pretty much. And then a year after Gosden's disappearance, the head teacher at the Catholic school he was going to, Mary Lawrence, travelled to London with staff and pupils and distributed 15,000 leaflets. Now in this section of the video, we're going to have a look at the reasons why Gosden could have travelled to London, why he wanted to travel to London. After the initial CCTV trail went cold, they hadn't found anything around the area. The investigation moved to establish why Andrew had decided to go to London. An early theory was put forward by the family that Gosden decided to take in some sights. Gosden was known to have enjoyed London, and he would visit the capital to see his family, to see his grandparents, aunts, uncles, and family and friends who lived there. He also enjoyed visiting London's museums and exhibitions, where they mostly handed out the leaflets. Travel on buses was free for children at the time of Gosden's disappearance, so it would have made him even more it would have made him think, it's free, why wouldn't I do this? Well, I can get to Paddington Station, to Big Ben, to Trafalgar Square just in a blink of an eye. Why wouldn't I do that? Gosden's sister travelled to London to hand out CVs when she was 14 in order to gain some work experience, and Gosden's father speculated that Andrew may have done the same, and he was just going there to do some work experience. One event identified by Kevin Gosden, the father, as a possible reason for his son to have travelled to London was the 2007 YouTube gathering. However, there is no evidence that Gosden attended this event or had any interest even in YouTube. Again, he didn't really want in the internet, he wasn't social, he didn't like it. The family then also looked into music concerts that Gosden might have gone to London to attend, and the night of his appearance. The 30 Seconds to Mars played at Brixton Academy, and Sicta played a rescheduled farewell show at the Carling Academy. Again, he was interested in rock music and heavy metal music. Could this have been a reason? Why? The venue is even more. The venue is in walking distance to King's Cross, and this gig that he was going to was originally scheduled for 4 p.m. on July 7th and was to be the last show with the original vocalist, making it a unique event. Mick Neville, retired head of the Metropolitan Police Central Images Unit, believed this concert gig to be plausible. He appealed for anyone with photos or videos taken from the gig to come forward so that super recognisers could scan the images and see if he was potentially in any of them. Neville went on to state there was a canal nearby, Regent's Canal. It's unclear whether this was ever dredged or checked. Although Gosden was a fan of similar metal bands, there was no evidence that he attended these shows or even that he liked these bands. Again, another reason why against this theory, this very plausible theory. I believed in this theory until I read on with this news article here. Finnish band HIM also were doing a promotional signing at the HMV store on Oxford Street on Monday the 17th of September 2007 and performed an invitation-only show the same evening at the Borderline venue in Soho. The only way to get to this show was by completing various contests and giveaways. This lead was investigated by the family with help from HIM, or him, if you want to pronounce it that way, but it did not produce any meaningful leads. Gosden's father had also stated that he suspected Andrew might have gone to London to do something for which he felt it was easier to seek forgiveness than ask permission to do. Speaking in 2009, Kevin Gosden speculated on the reason for Andrew's disappearance. He said, did he decide to go to Reginald Perrin or reinvent himself? Or was there something troubling him that he felt he couldn't tell us? In my heart, I still think his disappearance was a spur-of-the-moment thing. He didn't plan it. Now, we've read all of these theories and reasons of why he decided to go away. We're now going to get into the criticisms that the police got. Now, Gosden's family were critical of the police's decision to concentrate on investigating the family rather than the CCTV footage beyond King's Cross during the initial stages of the investigation. The dad, Kevin Gosden, claimed that the police viewed him as a suspect during the initial stages and that they carried out unlawful recorded interviews aimed at pressuring him into revealing the reason for his son's disappearance. Kevin Gosden and the wider family were later on cleared of any involvement. SYP asked the BTP to search the available CCTV footage within 2 days of Gosden being reported missing. However, the BTP could not locate Gosden in the crowd, so the SYP sent an officer to London to assist with this search. After this, Gosden was spotted, Kevin claimed. has claimed the CCTV footage from buses and the adjacent tube station was not requested by authorities, and that the reported sightings of Gosden at a Pizza Hut and at Covent Garden were not followed up. So even when they had these speculations, even when they literally had sightings of him, they didn't do anything about it. And talking about possible sightings, let's now get into them. An article written by The Times, written on the first anniversary of Gosden's disappearance, reported that at the time 122 possible sightings have been reported from all over Britain, including 45 from London and 11 from Brighton. Andrew's father said there were 2 or 3 sightings within the first week of the disappearance that seemed credible, partly because of the way the witnesses claimed Gosden spoke to them. His family believe the most plausible sighting to be one which placed Gosden at the Pizza Hut on Oxford Street, which is a 1 hour's walk away from King's Cross, on the day he went missing. On the day he went missing. You know how crazy that is? And there were also additional unconfirmed sightings on Oxford Street on Monday the 17th of September, and the next day when Gosden was said to have been sleeping in a park in Southwark. Gosden was reportedly seen getting off a local train from Waterloo at Mortlake Station on 19th of September 2007, which is 5 days after he disappeared. Then, possibly, walking up Sheen Lane and along Upper Richmond Road. On the 19th of September, it was reported he appeared to have obtained warmer clothes. A woman reported a potential sighting of Gosden on the 17th of October, a month after he disappeared, in Covent Garden, and she spoke to a boy and stated he looked like a boy she had seen on the TV that was missing, but the boy denied that he was Gosden. And of course, if he denied that he was Gosden, that's something he would do, considering he doesn't want to be found. Later, other reported sighting locations included a park in Streatham, then further afield in South Wales, Birkenhead and Plymouth. In 2009, 2 possible sightings were reported. This was one outside the Natural History Museum and another in a pub in Southend. None of these sightings, though, could be verified. However, according to Gosden's father, none of the sightings were followed up by the police, and the woman who reported the Covent Garden sighting was not spoken to until 6 weeks after the disappearance. It's crazy. Now, the events that took place afterwards. In November 2008, a man visited Leominster Police Station in Hertfordshire, West Midlands, and used the intercom system to talk to a police officer, stating that he had information about Gosden. As it was in the evening, the intercom system was in use rather than a staffed reception, and by the time an actual officer arrived to take the details, the man had left. Police later appealed for him to get back in touch. Subsequently, an individual claiming to be the man at the police station wrote anonymously to the BBC after it featured the case on The One Show. He gave details of a possible sighting of Andrew Gosden in Shrewsbury in November 2008. However, it has not been confirmed that it was the same man on both occasions, but if so, why did he not wait at the police station? Could it just be it was the night time? Could it be there's something more sinister going on? Later, in September 2009, the family released age-processed images of what Gosden might look like age 16 to mark the second year of his disappearance. In November 2009, Kevin appealed to the gay community to find his son. Gosden's family considered the possibility that Gosden could have been struggling with sexual orientation at the time, which is another way he could have wanted to escape. But the family said that they were always an open family, so why would that be anything different? As of May 2011, the family paid a private company to conduct a sonar search of the River Thames, using the same technology that is used to locate victims and objects at sea. No trace, however, of Gosden was found during this research, though it did find another body. In 2016, Gosden's parents appealed for the information on the BBC's flagship current affairs television programme, Panorama. The following year, to mark the 10th anniversary of his disappearance, the charity Missing People made Gosden the face of their Find Every Child campaign, with Gosden featuring on billboards and state advertisements throughout the UK. Then on September 2017, the 12th of September to be precise, the police made a fresh appeal for information. A statement on the South Yorkshire Police Facebook page said police were or had been investigating requests for similar optical prescriptions to Gosden's, requesting documents from the passport office or national insurance and circulating Gosden's DNA, fingerprints and dental and health records. The tone of the statement suggested that the police believe Gosden may still be alive. The police undertook annual checks on John Does in hospitals. In June 2018, the Gosden family said someone had reported an online conversation with a person with the username Andy Rue, who claimed that their boyfriend had left them and needed £200 to cover rent. When someone offered to send them money, the user claimed they didn't have a bank account as they had left home when they were 14. The link was investigated by police, but the person was never identified. That is very strange. And then in July 2018, to mark Gosden's 25th birthday, 2 updated age progression photographs were released by the family. It was also announced that the band Muse would help publicise the campaign to find Gosden. Then, in October 2019, another age progression photo was released, and Gosden's family have kept his room as he left it and have not changed the locks on the house, as Gosden was known to have taken his key. Gosden's bank account has not been used ever since he made the withdrawal on the morning of 14th of September 2007. For the last little bit to close it up, on the 11th of January 2022, South Yorkshire Police stated that on the 8th of December 2021, following an anonymous tip-off, detectives had arrested two men aged 38 and 45 on suspicion of kidnapping and human trafficking. The older man's arrest was also connected with possession of images of Gosden. Both men, however, were released under investigation while inquiries still continued. They are believed to have been the first ever made arrests in connection to the disappearance. The following day, it was announced that numerous devices had been seized from the men for forensic investigation, which police would take 6 months to a year to investigate it. And then Kevin Gosden thanked the public for their support and said the family did not know of any more than what had been released in the police statement. In January 2023, South Yorkshire Police said that the men remained under investigation and that the subsequent devices were also still under examination. In September 2023, it was reported that both men had been released without charge and that they were not involved in Gosden's disappearance. Anyway, that's it for another video. Hope you've enjoyed this new type of video, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye for now.